What a time to come in here, guys. Pocket 7s in the FTOPS Event 1. I turned the video on so that I could use some video run good for this hand. I don't think at M11-ish, I'm probably not really looking to 3-bet fold from the cutoff here. It does kind of look a little bit strong though, just because the big blind is short. But I mean, you know, he's M2.5-ish, so not overly, but it just reduces the 3-bet bluff range that we might have just a little bit. Hey, it worked, so that's good, because we are in the money, and we are sitting, let's see, 20 info, 76 of 225 in the money with 80k up top, so in there with a chance. And Sunday Moon's top left. Looks like another jam coming up here. So I'm bringing you this tail end of the session, guys. I was playing pretty good early and then had some big stacks and then they slipped away from me. I don't think I can quite fold here. 30. No. Yeah, I feel like I've played pretty well today. I haven't really won any big all-ins. I've lost most of my flips and big all-ins, and yeah. And it's just been, you know, one of those days. What can I say? It's just really been one of those days, and that's just how it's been going. So I mean, there's not a lot you can do when that's happening. You know, we put him in a, I don't know, on a pretty wide range because he was short, naturally, as you do. And you know, same with bottom left, easy jam. But yeah, I mean, I just haven't really won any all-ins today. So yeah, it's been kind of frustrating. But you know, I've just tried to stay positive. Just tried to stay positive because we're still in this FTOPS, and it's one of the bigger tourneys of the day. And I'm due for a score in on full tilt, because I've just been running really bad there for a long time. So I feel like I'm just going to get a huge score soon. This FTOPS, I feel like I'm due for maybe even a 6-figure score. But see if we can get 80k today for starters. But yeah, I was had a lot of tables early. Kind of wanted to zone in. Didn't start the video. And had a couple other things I had to take care of on the side, which is just because it's the first day of the month today, 1st of December. So I had like a few website sort of updates and upgrades and fiddly things I had to do as well, send a couple of emails and stuff. So that was a little bit distracting. And you know my feelings on that. Yeah, you got to be careful, sort of multitasking while you're trying to play poker. And I think it may have led me to making my... I probably made one bad decision today. It was pretty marginal. I had pocket 7s and opened from the hijack or cutoff. I think it was the hijack, actually. And the big blind 3-bet. He's a pretty solid player, but definitely capable of 3-betting light. I was M15, well, about M16, actually. So I was, you know, in terms of that second pivot, I was kind of deep. And, you know, in that instance, I think I'm going to fold there. How much is the ante? 120? Yeah, actually, I probably should have got it in, since the ante is such a large portion of our stack. But anyway. Yeah, so I just had a really tough spot there, because normally it would be, well, anytime you're M16 and you're jamming with 7s, unless you're against a real maniac, you know, it's always going to be a little bit on the borderline side. And I'm just going to turn this HUD back on, guys, because you're risking a lot for little. You know, if you're M11, 12, you're not risking as much to pick up, you know, the bet that's out there and all that, you know, dead money, the blinds and antes and so forth. So M16 is getting a bit high. Excuse me, guys. And he 3-bet very small, so I raised to 1,000. The blinds were 250, 500, and this was in the 100 rebuy. And we were just past halfway through, so it wasn't anything catastrophic or anything. And the big blind raised me 2.35x, so I made it 1,000 and he made it 2,350. And at the time I wasn't quite zoned in, you know. I mean, ideally in that sort of instance, you want to already be thinking what you'll do and how you respond and that sort of thing in certain situations, you know. You want to already be thinking, okay, what am I going to do if he 3-bets here? And already sort of scanning. And, you know, I wasn't doing that. I think I'm just going to call here, actually. Excuse me, it's pretty close. This pro. I feel like I should know this guy. I think he's a decent player. Yeah, I didn't have much of a time bank. I'd already used some of my time bank, and I ended up making a fairly, what I thought was kind of rushed, sort of just big all-in jam. And of course he had queens, and that was the end of the 100 rebuy. So that was pretty annoying, because 100 rebuy is one of my favorite tournaments, and I usually do quite well in it. It's got a big pool, and I had a not fantastic but decent stack at M16, and I think I could have just folded there and maintained M15 and preserved my stack, because it just looked like he was inducing, and I was really annoyed at myself for not paying more attention to the bet sizing and reacting a little bit too quickly and just making it more of a standard situation. I'm just trying to think the best way to play this. Whether it be to call, there'll be 20 in there. If he bets 10 on the turn, we can probably shove. Yeah, I think I'm going to call shove turn, actually. The thing about the tank flop, actually, I quite like the tank on the flop, because I think it just makes it a little bit less likely that we, you know, if we hit the hearts, I just think he's less likely to think we would just tank with a flush draw, because it's an easy call with the flush draw, right? So why would we tank? But actually, I was just trying to work out the best way to play this hand. Now, we have to bet here, and if he jams, it's not going to be good, but we're going to have to call off. So I'm just working out sort of how much we want to bet here. And I think I'm going to bet... I think I'm going to bet 88, maybe 87. The reason why I'm going to bet that amount... if he does jam, we've got about 15 outs, so about 30% getting about 2 to 1. So we'd be getting roughly the right price. It would be pretty borderline. Yeah, but it's pretty close, and I just not going to fold it. It's important we bet the turn, because you could have a hand like, you know, pocket fours or like ace high or something, you know, where if we check and then the river goes check check, you know, it's just bad if we let him get there. Because Jack High is probably not the best hand. And yeah, if he bets turn, we can shove over the top. I think in that spot, like, I do think players are going to bet turn a fair bit, because we could be floating or have like pocket sevens or something, and maybe just call one on the flop. The queen is a pretty good bluff card, so I think he must have been pretty close to, excuse me, firing the second barrel. And we could have jammed over the top with fold equity and a lot of hand strength equity against his range. When you consider, you know, that he could sometimes fold to the turn jam. Yeah, and, you know, like I said, worst case, we're going to have around 30% equity, which, given the dead money that's already out there, means that, you know, even though 30% equity is not great, when you combine it with the fold equity, I mean, he doesn't have to fold very often for it to be profitable with all that dead money that's already out there, including the action on the pre-flop flop, and then if he bets turn, we're almost getting the right price. You know, even if he said to us, look, I'm probably calling you if you jam. So, got a little bit loose bottom right here, but we are full stacked. And we do have the very very pretty 10 jack. Sorry, cough in your ear there. Athanasios, WSOP 2-time bracelet winner, I think 2 times. The bottom left there. And I usually actually, he seems to always fall for my traps. You know, whether it be like an overbet or a check raise, or I don't know, he just seems to fall into the trap all the time. Yeah, I feel like I've got his number when it comes to like metagame situations. He always kind of, I don't know. Yeah, I've probably just been blessed with the right hands at the right time. Full pot. Half pot probably would have floated. You know, we got a decent board to rep on later streets if it comes a spade and so forth. But I think he almost full potted, and he's open in early position, so he could just be a maniac barreling away with, you know, with the odd high cards. But I think it's more likely he's just really serious about protecting his hand because he feels like he gets too many bad beats. Especially on a Sunday. Well, Monday for me, Monday morning here. So yeah, I mean that little mistake earlier, it kind of felt like it threw me out of my zone a little bit when I did that, because you know I was doing pretty well every tournament. Actually, I was doing quite well, and then suddenly I thought I was going to make a deep run in the 100 rebuy. Suddenly busted it, and then I just kind of lost my mojo a little bit. And sorry about that, guys, because I had intended to turn the camera on a bit earlier, but also I did have a lot of tables going, obviously, as you do on the weekend. So the ace-3 suited, you know, it's mainly because of the stack depths we have behind. You know, it's quite hard to get 3-bet unless it's a jam by most players, except this guy here, and he does go for it. I don't know if he's going to 3-bet too light here. I mean, I just don't think so. You know, we don't have that many hands here we're raising with. That you know, are really weak. I mean, this is obviously the bottom of our range, literally, like ace-2 suited. I would open any suited ace, and probably open like 6s up here or something, 6s or 7s up, and king jack suited, and king queen off, and ace-10 suited, and ace-jack off up, hands like that. So when you're looking at that sort of range, a lot of the time in this situation, we're actually going to have a hand that can, you know, either call or jam here. It looks like he actually has a pretty nutty hand, but he could just be leveraging his stack in a good way. Well, you know, we can almost call it. I mean, it's pretty close. I think I'm just going to gamble top right. Yeah, you know what? We probably can call with the ace suited. Just because we're getting like 4-1. We're getting 4-1 pre-flop. And so it's a little bit gross because he's repping, you know, pretty narrow. He's kind of looking like he has aces, kings, queens. That's the way I kind of read it anyway. This is a bit of a killer, you know, because we've got a pair and a backdoor flush, but, you know, we should at least have 5 outs, except for the sick time we run into aces. But I really did sort of call just to flop either a flush draw or, you know, an ace. Because I don't think he's making that raise with ace-king. And so if he's not making that particular tiny raise size with ace-king, it means he has either aces, kings, queens, maybe jacks, but aces, kings, queens. So if we have an ace blocker and he's not doing it with a ace-x combo, it means that the combo of aces that he can have, there's only 3 aces left, right? So he'd only be able to have having a complete brain shutdown here. What would that be? Oh my god, I can't believe three combos, right? Wow, god. Maybe I'm tired. Sometimes I think, yeah, you're okay, you're doing good, you're focused, and then I try and do some simple calculation, and I'm like, And then it just dawns on me that actually my brain is just turned into complete mush. And maybe it's like when you're drunk, and you feel, I can drive home, or, I can do this, or, I can walk a tightrope between, skyscrapers. But really you can't. It's probably like that. It's like a tired intoxication. I think I'm just going to probably shove here. I mean, I don't really think he's going to have, ace-X type of stuff very often. I think he's going to have like King Jack, 10 Jack, Jack Queen, a lot of hands like that. I don't really think he's just limping there with like ace-7 and ace-8. Most players would just jam that, but limp with some of those other hands that they want to see a flop with. 9-10 suited maybe. And this it's a little bit of a weird spot because he's not deep. So I'm kind of banking on the fact that he's on the fishy side. Which, yeah, I mean, when you see a button limp, it's usually pretty safe to presume. And I can imagine a sort of fishier player limping in here with like King 10, like Queen 9 suited or Jack Queen off, because they don't really understand jam ranges properly. And he doesn't realize that a lot of those hands at M, what's he got there? 6.5, 7 he had, are just fist pump jams. He only needs a PN of 14. And a hand like, Queen Jack off has a PN of 26. So, you can fist pump jam it. He's probably not aware of that sort of thing, and he's like, hey, I'll limp in, I want to see a flop, I don't want to get raised off my hand. And then he got raised off his hand, so it was just sad for him, but pretty good for us. Once in a while, I mean, it's pretty rare to see a trap there. It's pretty rare to see the guy roll kings there. It's actually really rare, but you do see it from time to time. Normally players will limp from early with those sorts of hands because they know there's a lot of players behind likely to give them action. I think on the button, players are more likely just to raise because they're like, yeah, they'll think I'm stealing and they'll play back at me. They don't really need to limp necessarily to induce action. I mean, because players are normally, if they've got a hand, like if he min raises there and we've got sixes, it's just going in anyway. So with less players behind, it works out. Let me just think here for a minute. 3, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, probably not quite folding. 2. Full house. This would be a terrific save if we can just score like this 1650, get through a gazillion players and win 6,000. Like that would just be awesome end to the day, but it hasn't been a very good day. As I pointed out before, I just haven't won many flips today. But we won a few yesterday when we final tabled the 100 rebuy, got 4th or whatever it was, 3rd, 4th was it? Yeah. I feel like I'm playing pretty good, but not my best, quite my best. I think the reason for that is the tail end of these sessions, I think I'm just going to limp here. He might not believe us again, and we do have 2 players behind now. I think this guy's I was going to put him on something like that, 3-6. I was trying to think of like a really, just crazy, wacky hand. 3-6, some like running gut shots or something. Yeah, just the standard sort of fishiness that you see. Nothing too special. Pretty borderline spot here. I'm not folding now, I guess, but it's a bit gross. Yeah, I mean, this top left spot was pretty close. Wow. Does he ever have ace-10, this guy? Kind of feels like he might have ace-10 some of the time. But I mean, we're just going to jam it in and hope he's got like 10-jack or jack-9 or ace-jack, or maybe trapping once in a while. We're doing something fancy. I don't think we really want to check there, because I think he's just going to check back a lot, because he doesn't seem, when he calls turn, like he's going to have a lot of bluffs in his range. It seems like he'd be really showdown heavy. So I think just getting it in is the best. But yeah, going back to what I was saying, top left. What are we going to do here? I guess just raise 1624. Going back to top left. I think that guy, if we isolate again, like, he's just been jammed, so I mean, it's possible he wants to now limp with a little bit of a better hand, thinking players behind might be aggressive again. Or maybe he just thinks, well, you jammed me before, buddy. I'm not letting you do it again in calls. We do have 2 players left behind. So, you know, it's really close. I think that just limping behind is not too bad. But I think that, well, look at this. It's the video run good. But it is a $7.50 turbo with a gazillion players, so it's more like just wasting run good than actually utilizing it. Yeah, I think I got better get in here. Yeah, I just think it's borderline. If I had to play the hand again, I think that I would maybe put in a little isolation raise. I think a little isolation raise is definitely pretty good. Definitely worth considering. It was getting a bit thin on the bottom right, but I was just like so sure that we had the best hand, always. And, you know, here PN of 11 for 9-10, and these guys are short, so I think it's pretty standard, the effective PN. M9 top left, so yeah. If this guy jams, you know, the King 10 suited, we're just not folding, but not really loving it, but 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7, 14, 21, 20. Yeah, I mean, not really hating it, not really loving it. It's just, yeah, just calling, you know. He might have ace-7 suited, he could have 5s. He might just flat us. And you know, it is interesting, the flat. I think actually maybe checking here is, you know, it's pretty close. I mean, if he shoves the turn now, we can fold. I don't think he has ace high. The 8's a little bit of a bad card because you could have 8-9, 8-10, Jack 8 suited, something like that. He can very confidently, obviously, value bet it. It's possible that he might be thinking that we're thinking, wow, okay. Just forget everything I just said. Just forget everything I just said. I have no idea how he has the ace there, but I tell you what he's thinking is that, well, this guy's raised into such short stacks, he's probably got a hand, and he got scared, maybe. Or he may just be thinking, I've got ace-9 off, it's not a very good hand, I need to be careful, and just have no idea about, well, poker in general. But no, just no idea about stack size. But you know, I mean, in that spot, we do have to be a little bit careful raising the short stacks. But ace-9 off in the big line there, I think just better to jam it in, personally. Yeah, probably better just to jam it in. We can still have some, you know, ace-X's and like the sort of hands we had, Broadways and stuff. So he's doing pretty well, and there's just already, when you're considering you only have M3, there's a lot of dead money out there compared to your stack, in comparison anyway, that you want to try and pick up. So it's a little bit annoying because I think we actually pick it up with even just a tiny flop bet. But the thing is, I thought we probably had the best hand. We had a lot of backdoor outs, any diamond, king, 10, jack, ace, 9, like just lots of good cards for us to turn. And so I thought I might go for the check back and just see what he does on the turn. I don't think he's going to bluff too often, but he might, you know. But if he does bluff, I think it's going to be a very small bet, which we can probably call and then make up our mind on the river if he shoves. Just going to limp call here. It's pretty dicey. Just because we're pretty deep, suited, and it was a small raise. Now we have a pair, so now we have trips. So that was the whole plan, really, from the start, wasn't it? It's pretty tough here to know whether to raise or I don't think there's any point in betting because he's just probably not going to hero with an ace on that card. It's probably better to check raise him if he does bet, but I don't think he will. But he does. So now we just have to raise it up a bit. He's probably hit the 10, ace 10, king 10, 10 jack. Yeah, I mean, I just don't think we're ever beat, ever. Having said that, you know, he's going to show us pocket tens or like pocket sevens and just chapped us. But 8-9 suited, but I mean, really, just think 8-9 would have probably been a better game turn. I mean, and I think a fish in that spot has a pretty hard time believing you and folding top pair, but we really don't have many bluffs in our hand there. In fact, yeah, I would probably say we have 0. Just because he's either really got a 10 or nothing, you know. He's either got like king jack and he's like, hey, I have to bet this to win it, or he's got a 10. And so for us to raise, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. Well, I mean, we can raise it, I guess, if we got absolute airball, but we're not going to have an airball in that spot very often. I guess there was like a 5-8 suited or something. Maybe we can somehow be in there with something like that. Let's have a look. Yeah, I guess 4-5 suited and 5-8 suited. But I mean, they're probably the only hands that I would limp call with. It's not very many combos. If we've got like 9-10, 8-10, all those sort of straight draws, we hit a pair or straight, we can have some. I mean, we can have deuces since we limp called, I guess. Some sort of hands like we had, obviously, since we had that. Easy to say that you could have it when you do have it. Yeah, I'm going to fold that. Yeah, so I mean, from his point of view, he's probably kind of thinking, what the hell's he got that's willing to check raise? Like, we're repping a pretty nutty range, you know, full houses and a deuce and 8-9. But, you know, we can have those hands, so. But it's, yeah, ripping very thin. And that's why it's so hard. I guess it is hard for him to fold a 10 in that, consider that. But we just don't have many bluffs there. Yeah. But it's just a bit of a weird line. But, you know, his range is likely to be pretty elastic, I would say, in that spot. This is the sort of raise the guy did to me before. You know, he made it this amount. And, I mean, that's just an amount where it looks like you really want action, isn't it? Pretty gross call here, but this guy has been pretty tight, UTG, and he's limped. And I actually think he's limped with a big hand here a lot. And so we're really praying for a deuce. Look at this, you know, we're running good in these small turbos. In the early stages. With, well, there's only 509 players left. 2 of 508 now. This will be over in no time. It's probably actually better to jam there than just min. I mean, it's much of a muchness. But I actually think min raise looks pretty strong. This guy's jammed double pot. I really can't feel like he limped with a hand. I actually think he's got ace king or something like that. I guess he might have like ace jack suited or something. But it just kind of felt, he's been tight. He's only played like 4 of 47 hands, which is 9%, and he's just limped UTG. It's kind of a bit smelly, you know. I think he has aces, ace king. He might have ace queen, I guess. Ace jack, ace 10 of clubs. Maybe. I guess he could even... Would he do it with sets of like nines of queens and stuff? Maybe, but probably he'd want to get a bit of value with those hands, but we're going to find out, so that's good. Okay, just cancel everything I just said. 10 jack. I'm not really sure how King 5 gets it in there. And that's Black 4s as well, he's a good player. So he, was saying, I was actually wrong in pretty much every facet of that hand, because I said that he probably limped with a monster when he had 10 jack. And then I said he probably wouldn't double pot jam the flop with a monster, and he also did that as well. So it was like a double whammy. Yeah, 10 jack off limping, massive fish. M3. What's he doing? 4, whatever it was, like just horrific stuff. Trying to see a flop with M4 from UTG with 10 jack, like, yeah, hard to play worse. In fact, you can't really, because folding it's not bad and jamming it's not bad. So calling with there is actually the worst you can do. So he's trying to play as bad as possible, and then he's jamming flop with the nuts. So I mean, he's kind of playing backwards at this stage. He's trying to do everything opposite of what's the correct play is, and then just do the complete opposite. But it's always good to have someone like that, sort of a backwards player at your table. He's probably got his shirt on backwards as well, inside out sort of thing. He's got his tag hanging out the front, and he hasn't cut it from when he bought it at the shop, so it's hanging right down around his belly. And it is flip time, my friends. Where are all the 3s around here? Unbelievable. Just one of those days. Big flip, FTOPS 1. Only 145 players left, 80k up top. Could have had 80k. Could have had an 80k stack. That would have put us a little bit above average. Would have been good. A little bit unlucky to run into that sort of hand too. I mean, you could have had ace queen, ace jack, king queen, I think. Stuff like that. So I wish I could bring you a bit more excitement, but we're going to be left with these little turbos. And now somehow he gets it in with us crushed. And we even get teased a little bit with a flush draw, just for extra torment. But we cashed it. We got 380 bucks. So it's a rare, profitable day on full tilt because, like I was saying, I just don't seem to run very well on that site, and I'm due for a 140,000 score. So that's my prediction: is that I'll get a 140k score this FTOPS. I don't know what events are going to have that much up top, but a few of them should. Well, should they? Maybe not. Maybe just the main. It's hard to get pulls like that these days. It really is. Didn't spend too much today. Tried to avoid a lot of the sort of little stuff. I did spend a lot on AAA poker. I was running well. I was not running well on there. I did play some of the... They've got an XL series going on. This Super XL series. So I think I played a 55, a 109, a 160, and a 200. Oh, and the 90. So that's where a lot of the money went today, unfortunately. Because I didn't cash in any of them. And... actually didn't even really have that much joy. It just seemed like every time there was an all-in situation, we just ran into a hand and that we were still ahead of or flipping with and lost. And so that makes it hard. Queen 10, 17, yeah, I think I'm going to fight, or 16 or 17. Oh yeah, we can jam here. So, I just noticed, it's pretty borderline, but then I just noticed the big blinds on... such a short stack, so it's kind of like you're only jamming into 3 players, which makes it a lot easier. It's only around a PN of sort of 13 we need, and Queen 10 has a PN of 17, so if the big blind was, full stacked, then it would be around about the PN that we need. It's actually kind of a bonus that he's short because, it actually tempts him to get involved more with hands that we actually beat, but as it is, we got called by the King Jack there. Probably pretty standard. Isolate with the King Jack against an M4 hijack. Yeah, seems pretty normal to me. Yeah, we just couldn't get there. So we're down to these 2 terps, and I'll probably wrap it up there, guys, actually. And I'll make a point of next Sunday trying to record a nice long session so you get to see a sort of more of a full Sunday session. But as for today, just the 2 turbies left. See how we go, and if I get down to the last couple of tables, definitely fire the video back up. But yeah, been a tough Sunday, unfortunately. No joy, and you got a little bit of a taste of it there. We did win a couple of hands, but that was short-lived. So yeah, it's just the way it goes sometimes. And yeah, it's a pity it happened on Sunday, but we'll just keep fighting on, and wait for our chance to get a bit of run good and capitalize on that with good play and get the monies.